was false. The affidavit, which was purportedly signed on February 21st, claims no violations. Only 3 days later, on February 24th, the house on the property was boarded by the town building inspector for long-existing violations, including an unauthorized carport built last summer or fall by the person believed to be claiming to be the current owner. The house on the property has had non-existent windows, open doors, and other defects for more than a year, including last fall or summer when the person who claims to be the current owner parked a boat on the property and later hired a team of workers who removed vegetation and old-growth trees from the property. The tree removal damaged the property of an adjacent owner, and that owner contacted the purported owner, who at that time claimed that his name was Ed Leskowski. The spelling given over the phone by the purported owner. Moreover, Edward Lacalzi, the homeowner, is believed to be the BZA applicant, lives at 2 Woodfield Road, Stony Brook, in a home that is at the intersection of Woodfield and Christian Avenue, and that is located probably less than 1,000 feet from the 154 Christian Avenue. The proximity of the 2 locations makes it even less likely that Lacalzi did not know about the violations. The BZA application seeks significant setback variances all the way around on a 50-foot lot. One side of the existing house is already less than 3 feet away from the adjacent property line. Only about 4 feet from that side property line, there is a house that has been there for almost 50 years. Further reduction of the setback area would cause significant intrusion into the privacy and livability of that house. The BZA application also seeks approval for multiple second-story additions, which would further negatively affect the existing adjacent houses, both of which are one-story homes. The BZA application also appears to seek approval of total square footage of structures that would exceed the permitted ratio of structural square footage in relation to the size of this lot. The BZA application does not explicitly note this issue or request a variance. Adjacent and nearby homeowners fear that the intention of the applicant is to create another student rental property. The BZA application would apparently nearly triple the square footage of living space. 2 houses down from the property, there is already a 10,000 square foot house that is being used for student rentals and which has caused much damage to the neighborhood and is the subject of extensive litigation. Adjacent and nearby homeowners also fear that the requested variances and proposed expansion will create environmental, asbestos, and traffic safety issues. An adjacent owner believes that her property may share a cesspool with the subject property and needs to have time to have this potential professionally investigated. The requested addition in the rear yard would eliminate the turnaround space in front of the garage and would thus force cars driving forward into the driveway to back out onto Christian Avenue, a highly trafficked road, on a curve that limits visibility. Alternatively, cars would have to back into the driveway from Christian Avenue. And this is from Bruce Sander, President of Stony Brook Concerned Homeowners. It is our understanding that on today's agenda we will be meeting for a variance at 154 Christian Avenue, case number 27. As I am sure you are all aware of, this house is only 2 doors down from the infamous 150 Christian Avenue student house, which has been tied up in court for almost a year. I would like to ask the President of the Stony Brook Concerned Homeowners that you take extra time in reviewing the potential effect this variance could have on the surrounding homeowners. These homeowners have had to deal with Animal House-like frat parties and the destruction of their own home property values because of this home. We have the utmost respect for the time and energy that the zoning board puts forth in a town as large as Brookhaven. It is impossible to know of every circumstance surrounding a potential change in zone without surrounding residents' input. We have information that several neighbors will be there today to express their opinions. It is our strongest belief that alterations that change the structure in such a way that it could feasibly become a student rental is unacceptable. Please hear the clear message from the concerned homeowners at today's meeting.
All right, Mr. Malganaro, that's the extent of the written communication we have. Before bringing other persons up, if you'd like to...
No, I'm not going to respond to any of it right now, Mr. Chairman.
As we look at the proposed application, we see that the additions out of the front side and rear of the house at 2 stories would result in a structure at 2,267 square feet, or just slightly over that. Does that sound about right to you?
Sounds about right, yes, sir.
And how would that generally conform to this area?
Well, we feel, based on the pictures that we submitted, if you take a good look at them, you'll see the homes are pretty substantial in this area.
All right. In terms of that, we do note within the radius, which is what we're restricted to when we consider these applications, this is actually the smallest lot there.
It is one of the smallest lots.
It's actually, yes, it's the smallest. There is, as we see it, two parcels down Christian Avenue, and I don't know the direction. I'm sure you guys will help me, but there's a lot slightly larger that's vacant. It's just on the other side of Salt Meadow, same side of Christian Avenue on the other side of Salt Meadow Lane. That's a vacant lot, approximately the same size. Every other lot is larger than this one. Is that what you see also?
Yes, I do.
And in terms of the house itself, it's modest right now on a modest parcel at about 825 square
Yeah,
feet.
it's about 875, something like that.
And Ms. Perugini calculates it at 825, but, so the proposal is to go from 825 to 2267.
That's
Is
correct.
that right? As we look through the radius, I do note for the record that the lots on either side, standing at this house, looking at it to the left, we're at 1/3 of an acre, and the house size there is 1,323 square feet. And if we're going to turn to the right, that's 3/4 of an acre, and the house size is another modest 897 square feet. So in terms of whether there's precedent for this size structure on such a small lot, did you want to comment at all?
No, not now, I
All
don't.
right. In going through Mr. LaCalzi's handout, it appears to us, based upon the size of the area he covers, that he's gone beyond the 500 square foot
Well,
radius.
what he's trying to do with the board is give you an overall picture of what's going on in the general neighborhood. As you well know, Christian Avenue is a large area, so is Earlin Road. And
But if we-
basically, we're trying to just give you an overall picture of what's going on.
If we turn to
in
the first
neighborhood.
page, where it identifies just small lots,
Yes,
it shows the subject, 154 Christian. It shows the parcel highlighted 2 doors away, 2 parcels away, which is the vacant parcel I was just referring to. And then it goes outside of the radius to identify a parcel near the corner of Christian and Valley Road. It also identifies small lots as the 2 across Christian Avenue, which are half-acre parcels. And while
we're
when
talking
we...
about 163 and 157.
Yes, yes. Those are,
The
again, half-acre
frontages
parcels, but he's
the
referring to them as small
frontages-
lots.
The frontages are small.
So then the title should have been parcels with limited frontages as opposed to small lots.
That is correct.
Because this, you can agree, it's got a limited frontage and it's a small lot.
Yeah, it's a small lot.
If we go to the next page, it says small lots with houses, and it shows us the subject, and then the 157 Christian and the 163 Christian. Those are on the other side of Christian Avenue. And again, outside of the radius, it goes to 170 Christian. But there are houses on those lots, the same as this one.
That is correct.
Do you know the size, for instance, of the square footage of the house
I
at
do
170
not.
Christian?
No, I do not.
Do you know that the lot identified as 163 Christian Avenue, that's a half acre, is 1,160 square feet?
What number is that?
163 Christian.
I'm not aware of that.
Well, based upon the assessor's records...
163, I see it. Okay, go ahead.
163, 1,160 square feet. That's a half acre. This is less than a quarter, and you're proposing double the size. And the 157 Christian Avenue, again, half
We're
acre.
talking about Stony Brook, though, Mr. Chairman. We're not talking about any other area.
I know that, but when we consider what would conform to the character of an area, we don't look at the name of the area, we look at the other lots around it.
I'm talking about Stony Brook.
Finally, just turning to the third page, it says small lots with 2-story houses. You've pointed again to 170 Christian Avenue, or he did, outside of the radius, but if you look at the picture that you provided of that house, it's, I don't know when it was built, certainly some time ago, under a different zone, but that appears to be a 1.5-story house. It does not have a full second story, and certainly nowhere close to 2267.
Are you talking about, what, 143?
170 Christian.
What number?
170.
Oh, 170.
Just based upon that review, it would appear, based upon what Mr. Lucalzi has shown us in our review of the assessor's records, that this would be I'm going to put it as delicately as possible, the largest house on the smallest lot, apart from the infamous 150, Christian. Do you disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree with it, Mr. Chairman.
So, in terms of the ownership issue, I recognize the fact that the town's tax records are not up to date. We've seen delays in them following a purchase of a parcel for up to a year. I do note from your building application that property was acquired by the applicant on October 12, 2013. Did Mr. Lucalzi give you a deed or?
No, he did not. He just told me that's when he acquired it, and I take the man's word on it.
Is there proof of ownership that you could acquire for us so that we could alleviate that issue?
I could.
All right.
I can bring that in.
All right, then, with that, then why don't I call the people up wishing to speak? I do have 6 persons, so maybe we can give them the table. Is there a handout that they could utilize up there?
And I left the survey.
All right, thank you. Can I have John DeBellis, Frank Fontaine, Cynthia, is it Wins? I'm sorry. Yes. And June Amoroso. If I could have each of you step up, please. I do have 2 other cards I recognize, but I only have 4 seats, so we'll do 4 of you, and then as the seats open up, we'll bring up the last 2. Which of the names did I call are missing? Or none now? Okay.
I do.
All right, just before each of you sat down, sir, you gave us 2 handouts, is that what it is?
Yes, that's correct.
And just your name and address for the record, please.
My name is John DeBellis. I live at 139 Christian Avenue, Stony Brook.
Thank you, Mr. DeBellis. We have your card first. I'm going to ask you if you could to speak first. We do have the correspondence that you just provided to us. If you want to give us a description of that, feel free to do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'd just like to read that statement briefly into the record. I oppose any and all zoning variances requested for this property on Christian Avenue. Recent zoning variances, including 150 Christian Avenue, have resulted in a severe degradation of the housing values and impacted the safety and quality of life in this neighborhood. The ongoing situation with the boarding house at 150 Christian Avenue has rendered all of the houses in the area unsaleable. The houses on either side of 150 Christian Avenue remain unsold after 2+ years on the market. 150 Christian Avenue was turned into a giant frat house due to the fact that it was unsaleable to a normal family because of its enormity. It is a hideous eyesore and grossly out of character with the other houses in the community. I wish to try to prevent this investor from making the same grievous errors of building a house which is huge, out of character, and out of proportion to the other homes in the neighborhood, which due to its proximity to 150 Christian Avenue would certainly become unsaleable, rendering the only option for the absentee owner to turning the house into an illegal boarding house and further negatively impacting my quality of life.
Thank you, sir. Were there any additional comments that you had?
Yes, I did note that the gentleman representing the owner made a comment regarding the fact that the housing department had already, agreed that they would be issuing a certificate of occupancy to the house, and also including a basement entrance, which certainly has set off alarms with me due to the fact that that's the same authority which has allowed 150 Christian Avenue to be divided up into a boarding house with multiple exterior